All right. Hello, my friends. Let us get everything adjusted. Today is a beautiful day. All days are beautiful, of course, but today is exceptionally beautiful because it is overcast and rainy, which we need desperately here. So we got a little bit of rain here, which is wonderful. This season, as all of you are aware, this season has been very slow to start. So I don't know if you are experiencing the same thing where you're at, but I've heard from a lot of people, especially in this area, the area we'll call that's in line with the Canadian wildfires, like the Midwest, Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, all those areas have been having real slow season. Not only the particulates in the air and everything, but also the lack of rainfall. So plants don't like it when it doesn't rain. So irrigation is just not quite the same. So let us see who is here. Teresa Ledante. Hello, she says 46 watching and only 20 thumbs up. Let's show Nate some love. Yes, my friends, give the thumbs up. Of course, give the thumbs up. We are almost at 100,000 in the tribe. We are almost 100,000 strong. Now, you guys are the inner circle tribe, of course, because you are watching the lives, commenting with the videos. I feel like I know most of you on a personal basis, you know, even though we've never met in person, except like Nancy, we did meet in person. And a lot of you, I'm starting to meet more and more, which is awesome. But yeah, almost 100,000 strong, so that's pretty cool. Thank you guys very much. Obviously, it would not be happening without you guys. So let us see. Joyce Pendleton says, hello from the Valley of the Sun. That sounds beautiful. Where is this at? Bettina says, Shalom, happy Sabbath. Thanks for sharing this information. You are welcome, Bettina. Sasha says, rain, please. We need it here in Uruguay, too. Ooh, yeah. Right now it's your winter time, is that right? Successful garden design. What's up, Rachel? Says, yep, definitely. Or she says, yep, painfully slow in the UK. Went from winter to blazing hot summer. Yes, I feel you. And for you in the UK, that probably means blazing hot is about 70 Fahrenheit. Is that right? Just kidding. But yeah, it's pretty much blazing hot here as well. And see, we're like right on the line where we are not, I mean, we're the northern Indiana, but we're not like the true north, you know, like North Dakota and Canada and northern Michigan and stuff like that. So, but yet we're definitely not the south. So we can get southern heat during the summertime, hot and humid and stuff. But then we can also get northern winters. You know, we're like right on that line. But we could also get neither. It can also just be mild. So it's pretty far out there. There's no way to tell. Don't set your clock by the weather in Indiana, that's for sure. As opposed to when I was living in Northern California, you could set your clock by that stuff, man. Once the rain stopped, that was it. Not another rain for 6 months straight. You could guarantee it. I was living outside and I would have all my stuff, my whole encampment, everything was outside. I had camouflage tarps, you know, netting all over my stuff. And it was in the woods, you know, in the redwoods, but there was just no rain. But then once the rain started, it rained nonstop. 6 months. It was awesome. VA Green, $10. Thank you very much, my friend. First tip of the day. And says, do you think there's any useful effect of the carbon dioxide bleeding off of the eggshell calcium recipe to benefit the plants if it's kept in an enclosed room? Now, this is a topic of hot debate. Well, it's not debate, actually, but a lot of people have said this. So, you know, essentially, yeah. I mean, you know, in like the indoor kind of cannabis culture, especially back in the day, that you used to get, the way that you would introduce CO2 into the room is through like a yeast type thing, you know, a fermentation. You would mix the things and there'd be a little bucket inside your grow tent and it would be releasing carbon dioxide. And those probably help. You know, they definitely can help raise the parts per million. It depends on what your air exchange is and stuff like that. So because once you get above, and we're talking parts per million for CO2, once you get above 800, give or take, the plants, between 800 and 1200 the parts per million, the plants really start to make a noticeable difference in their, they can grow so much faster. You see when you're doing it, I won't get too in depth in this, but when you're doing it indoors, it's a whole different ball game, because you have all the limiting factors of the photosynthesis equation: carbon dioxide, light, water, nutrients, air, and temperature. And when you raise one, you have to raise the other ones, because any one of them can be the limiting factors. And so when you raise the carbon dioxide level, you're able to raise the temperature, you have to raise the watering amount and the nutrient amount, and they can take more light, so they'll grow faster. But if you have all these other things, intense light and all that, and your CO2 is real low, then it's going to not work nearly as well. All right. So once you start pumping CO2 into your room, it's a night and day difference. Then you can pump up all the other things. But I assume that you're just talking about like house plants or something, or vegetable gardens. And in that case, the eggshell calcium is not really... it's better than nothing. Go ahead and put it, if you have a grow tent or something, put it in there. But it's not going to be releasing that much carbon dioxide, to really significantly raise the parts per million, you would need like a CO2 burner, or like a compost pile in your area or something like that, Because, what's a trip, guys? That if you have a log and if you have a log and you burn it, it releases the same amount of CO2 as if you let it decompose naturally over time. The same amount goes into the atmosphere through the natural decomposition or through the burning. The only difference is the speed, the rate at which it gets released into the atmosphere. So yeah, I hope that was answered your question. Get it right says Canadian Fire was arson. Yes. Well, when I was in Northern California, we had there's wildfires all the time there, and the locals that have been there their whole life and stuff, it was just a commonly accepted fact that the wildfires would persist until the budget ran out. And then once the sort of budget was coming to a close, the wildfires kind of wrapped up. Because, man, I don't know how many of you have seen this stuff, but to fight these wildfires is a literal army of people. A city, a moving town is what there's doctors and there's medical tents, and there's all kinds of cooks and chefs, and there's mechanics and a whole entourage. It's like a moving, military in a way, a moving city. And so much money is pumped into these things that, they're not going to just, okay, let's all go there and put the fire out right away. Oh, yeah, no, we're just going to let it keep going until that money starts drawing to an end. Then the wildfire suddenly goes out. And, man, the locals were really clued into this, and they could tell me, they were like, yeah, it's going to be out in a few days. It'd be, we can't put the wildfire out for months. And then they would be telling me, yeah, it'll only be a few more days, maybe a week at the most. And sure enough, that was it. So, okay. Let us see some more people who is here. Guys, let me know where you're at and what the weather is like, how the season is going for you. And let's see here. James Triplett says, show the tomato cage. The tomato cage? The one that I made out of the concrete mesh? Yes, we could do that. Let's see. Athaniel said, found out terrible information about Instagram, so I couldn't come to make an account. I think I found another way to show you the garden, though. Okay, do it. Although I would like to say, thanks for reminding me, guys, if you have an Instagram account, mention me, so at Garden Like a Viking, or tag me at Garden Like a Viking, or use the hashtag Garden Like a Viking, so that I can see your gardens. You guys have been doing that, and I've been loving it. So it's super cool. And if you have questions about your garden and stuff like that, you want to show me pictures, email is no longer the best way to get to me, because there's too much now. But the Instagram, the platform is designed in a very good way so that I can just press filter and I can see who is mentioning me. And so I can just see immediately. And you can do pictures, videos, whatever it is. So if you want to show me your garden, if you've got questions, use Instagram. And also, if you don't have Instagram, just go ahead and start one. You can start one, it's so easy, and you can start one just for this interaction. That's fine as well. But Instagram's good because so many other people can benefit from our conversations. That's what I love about it. Okay? And no, Instagram ain't paying me to say that, okay? So I don't think you even get paid from Instagram. But I mean, it doesn't even matter. I just think it's a great platform. Blue Wolf says, Mount Shasta, interesting year. First heat of the year has arrived. 97 out today. All right. Carla says, Southeast Texas. It's stinking hot. Hardly any rain. That's kind of normal for you guys though, right? Southeast. Well, I guess not. I guess maybe you would... Man, when I went down to do the turtle rescue thing a few months ago, you remember me and Jenny went down with Rusty Reed the Turtle Man, and we went to the Move to Preserve in DeWitt or Dermot, Arkansas. It's like South Arkansas. And man, it was the swamps, you know, and it was March, I think, 1st, and it was like pretty warm there and stuff. And but now I've been looking at the forecast, and they are getting it's 100 degrees and 90% humidity, raining every day. I mean, like a little rain every day. It just looks totally miserable. I couldn't even imagine being there right now. Like 101, 105, and 90% humidity. I'm thinking, why would you live there? I mean, I guess some people like that maybe, or well, obviously they just don't have a choice. They were born there or something. But yeah. So Sir Richard, what's up, my friend? What's up? Scott Miller will start an Instagram today. Good. You be a good one for that, because that is how I can see more of your stuff. So yes, definitely. And then you can just put pictures of your stuff. People are proud of the things they're growing, and it inspires other people. All right. So like, look at this. You know, you want to pick the blooms of your marigolds. You want to pick the blooms of your marigolds. If you know me in person, you know how big my face and head is. This is a huge marigold. Okay. This is huge. And you can keep them like this if you just keep them picked. Once it starts to sort of sag a little bit, then you want to just ploop, and that signals to the plant, as with most plants, but it will signal to the plant that it's under attack. And so it has to hurry up and produce as many potential offspring as possible. So that is what you want to do. And definitely once they start to wilt a little bit, then you want to pull them, because if the plant thinks, and this goes true for most plants and flowers, but if the plant thinks that its purpose is fulfilled, which is to reproduce, that's the plant's purpose, produce another one. And so if the bees pollinate this and then it starts to die back, the plant says, okay, we're all good. I mean, we'll still produce more, but ultimately we're good because we got one fertilized, set of babies out there. So if you, boom, pull it before it has that chance, it goes, oh no, we're not going to have no babies. And so then it will hurry up and reproduce a bunch. And that's what you want to keep it nice and thick. And give it the ash fertilizer, guys. You can either sprinkle ash around the marigolds, or you can just water it in. But they love that, okay? I love the beauty of these things. So yeah, that kind of stuff you can put on your Instagram, okay? It's simple. Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. Let's see here. On the Go says, how can I save seed when I have a couple of different kinds of tomatoes and corn? Tomatoes won't matter. So technically they can cross-pollinate and stuff, but that is not going to be any kind of noticeable difference. Typically you have to really try to cross tomatoes and stuff. So tomatoes will be fine. Save seeds. I grow a number of them right up in the mix of each other, and they're fine every year. But corn is a different experience. Corn is a different story. So corn will cross-pollinate in the same year even. So if you're planting like glass gem field corn, drying corn, next to like a Fisher's early sweet corn, and they're pollinated by the wind. And so if they get any of the pollen from the other one, it will totally disrupt. You'll get an ear of the sweet corn that's got hard, dry corn kernels in it and stuff like that. It totally wigs it out. And definitely if you save seed the next year, you're guaranteed some kind of mutant that isn't going to be what you want. So corn, only plant one variety, or separate it by like a 1/4 mile. or like a tree line or something like that, because corn is pollinated by the wind. And when you look at the corn cob and you see all those silks out the top of it, you know that every one of those silks corresponds to a kernel. Yes, and every single one of the silks, each strand of silk has to receive a grain of pollen. And if that doesn't happen, then you will open up your cob and you will see a bunch of empty spaces in the rows of corns. That is incomplete pollination. So if your corn is, if you're pulling it open and you're like, oh, okay, like 2/3 of it's great, but then I got all this dry spot where there's no kernels, incomplete pollination. And so they're wind pollinated. They do not rely on the insects. So you might have to tassel it and shake it out. You might have to kind of help it along, you know. So that is each silk corresponds to a kernel. Slat 7T says, can I plant more than one pepper to make my own variety? Yeah, it will make your own variety, but it's not. People that breed pepper plants, they don't just let them randomly cross-pollinate. They specifically select characteristics so that you will get a certain thing consistently. And so that's not breeding your own strain, letting them just cross-pollinate and stuff. So it's not going to give you anything predictable, okay? So you can, yeah, Rachel, I know, it is fascinating, isn't it? She said, I didn't know that about the corn. So the peppers, they will cross-pollinate, but they won't give you like what you're wanting, okay? For example, I have like jalapenos, you know. So one year I had jalapenos, and then I had some sweet peppers. I had a couple of different kinds of peppers. This is years ago. And then the next year saved seeds from those jalapenos and then planted them, started them up, you know, started up each of the peppers and stuff. Great. Everything's great. Nice, healthy plants. The peppers were looking great all the way up until harvest. They looked great. I dried them out and everything, and then went to taste them, and not one bit of flavor of any kind. There was not heat. There was not sweetness. It was just slightly bitter. All of them. So the cross-pollinating took away the characteristics that made each one of them desirable. And so it was, so I highly don't recommend that. Peppers are one thing that I purchase the seeds each year, or buy the plants, but purchasing the seeds is the best to do. And so for like, you know, $2 or $3, you can get a boatload of them. Let's see. Freebird, yes, says beautiful day in Indiana. Finally getting zucchini. Onions doing great. Peppers not so strong yet. Yeah, it's not. I mean, same here too. For some reason, the peppers are not really taking all that well. But the onions have done very well this year, guys. Just so far, the yellow of Parma onions that I was started up in I think January or February are doing fantastic. Okay, they're like 3 feet tall, and the stalk on them is like this thick, and they got like 12 leaves each, and the bulb is just huge, way bigger than I actually like, because I cook, you know, from scratch every day, and so I use onions and garlic pretty much every day, but that big of a bulb is going to be hard to use, but I'm not complaining. So they're just super big and healthy, all of that. So let's see here. Blue Wolf says 100,000 coming soon. A testament of your character. You help so many. Keep it up, Nate. Thank you very much for the positive energy, my friend. I appreciate that. And yes, 100,000 people are in the tribe now. So that is awesome. The more people that we can get growing their own food and just thinking along these lines, not even if you can't grow a bunch of food, that's fine, but you eventually will. If you keep it in the eye of your mind, eventually your life will come to a point where you will be able to grow a lot of your own food, if it's a priority to you. But not just the growing, but the whole garden, the whole growing lifestyle, the whole mentality is what I want to spread. The whole mentality of just doing for yourself everything that you can reasonably, and of questioning where your stuff is coming from, and of understanding that what you put into the body is of utmost importance. I mean, you can't exaggerate how important it is what you put into your body. You guys know that I say that the plant is an expression of the soil. Yes? What is happening in the soil is evident in the plant. You can see what is going on in the soil. Once you train yourself over time and experience, you can see. So the plant is an expression of the soil. The health of the plant depends upon what it is eating in the soil, okay? And in the same way, because remember, the plants and my body are one. The soil and my body are one. And so in the same way, what we put into our body, we are an expression of the soil of our life. The soil of our life being the things, the foods, and the liquids that we consume, also the thoughts that we consume, also the energy that we consume. All of this is the soil of our life, and we are an expression of that. And so that's what I want to spread to people. You know, you have to be very conscious of what goes into the body, both physical things and mental, spiritual things as well. And ideas as well. All of this stuff is good food, you know? And so we want the cleanest source of food possible. The cleaner the food, the cleaner the expression. Just like with the plants. The cleaner the organic nutrients, the healthier and the more nutrient dense and the more full of life force that the food is, that the plants are. And so it all translates. It's all one. It's all one. And Garth says, hey, eating my own garden tomatoes that I started in the greenhouse January 28th. Wow, man. So you are in Canada, way north, the real north, and you're eating tomatoes before I am. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I've got a bunch out there on the vine, super green though. So yeah, that's my tomatoes this year are doing just crazy good. I mean, because I'm doing the sprawl method, guys. I'm more because I want to make a video about it. So I'm doing it just to prove a point. Even though I know it works, I think I might have went a little too overboard, like I always do on everything. But I planted a few too many in the area. But now it's just a jungle of tomatoes, super thick, very nice, healthy looking, loaded with tomatoes. But I don't know how I'm going to get to them exactly because there's just so much bush, but it's okay. I've had worse problems. Angela Crawford, $10. Thank you very much, my friend. Says, I finally made it back. Yes, I haven't seen you in a while. Love your message. Thanks for the reminder about the variety of nutrition we need, physical and otherwise. That's right. That is right, my friends. And we are omnivores. And we not only can we eat many different things, but it's really best if we eat many different things, all of which in as close to their natural state as possible. This is important. And so try to get as many different types of plants into your body every week as possible. This is a wonderful start. But then also plants indirectly as they've been naturally processed through animals. Eggs, whole eggs, red meat, really good for you. Raw beef liver, bone marrow, bone broth, all of these things in combination with these clean sources of protein and of life force and of minerals and the B vitamins and all of that in combination with what we're growing ourselves, of course. So it's the potato and the beans and the greens and all this stuff. And I know a lot of you are, no, Rick, I do not breed daylilies. Sorry. I know a lot of you are based upon my last video, and I mentioned the, oh, I didn't know that. And okay, Angela Crawford, that is Taida. Okay, I didn't realize that either. And a lot of you mentioned about the beet greens because I said that I've been grilling them out, and you want that video? Definitely, it's in the works, man. The beets and the collard greens and the mustard greens, I've been grilling them. I mean, like Argentinian style grilling, you know, and so they've just been fantastic. And shout out to Jerry for turning me on to this, for reinvigorating this. I used to do it like this a lot, but this just has really reinvigorated all of that. So to a different level. Especially now, you know, I'm older now, and so, you know, just things are different. But yes, it has been very good. And so I will show you guys probably in the next week or two how to grill the garden greens, and it is awesome. Let's see here. Robert Udvari says, how would you start a new garden in a dead soil? Okay, dead from what? Is it dead because it's been poisoned, or is it dead because it's been neglected, Or why are you calling it dead? How do you know it's dead? And what degree of death are we talking about? So let me know and see if I can see your thing. Tree Rogie says, Nate, did you post your P.O. box on your website? Okay, listen, remember I gave you my word, I'm getting the P.O. box. And so I did. I signed up for the P.O. box and everything. I paid it's like $180 a year, 13 months, paid, it's registered, everything's good. But I had to go in there with 2 different forms of ID, and one of them has to, it's going to take me a few more days because, for a long time, I didn't even exist on paper and stuff. So it's like, I have to rearrange a few things, but so the number I will post it onto, and thank you for asking. I mean, that's awesome. So yes, the P.O. box is bought and paid for. It's reserved. I've got it. But I need to do that thing with the ID, multiple ID forms. So as soon as I do that, I'm going to put it onto the About section of the YouTube channel. Yeah, I'll put it on the About section. And I'll put it in the links of the description of all of the videos. Yeah. So guys, if you're, and I'm rearranging all of the links in the description to the videos because I love to put things, because I love like high quality stuff. And I've been like, I test things out a lot. And so I really have an eye for quality and I have an eye for all of this. And so I will put the links that I put in the description are things that I personally am like, yes, this is a good quality, or I'll say it's a budget option, something. Yeah, none of them really are companies. It's all just Amazon links, but it's the good stuff. And so you can check out any of those links. And if you're going to buy one of those things anyways, it's great if you will use that link because that gives me a small kickback. For example, that pump, is really incredible. That Little Giant, the stainless steel one, yes, it's pricey, but man, if you want something that's good, I can just tell it's quality. I used to live my life by pumps when I was in California. I was watering for hours and hours every day. So the pump is real smooth, real powerful. You can just tell. I mean, it's nice and heavy. So yeah, it's a good one. And what are your thoughts on growing Jerusalem artichokes as commercial cash crop? I don't know, really. I'm not that in tune with what would sell and all of that. Market gardening, cash crops is different than the type of food security gardening or homesteading that I am all about. So the particulars of growing something for profit like that is different than what you would do in a home garden setup. The fundamentals are the same, though, in the sense that it's all about the soil. So those kind of things would be, those kind of things are the same. So Scott says, Crazy Scott. Is that right? Cly Broke Again says, would you please link the pump you just mentioned? Yes, I do believe it is already in the description of this video. I think I put it there already. And it is there, and it's the first one. It's the super high quality pump. And then there's a budget option, but man, in my experience, okay, so you buy this high quality one and it will last you years. I can just tell. It's an industrial piece of equipment. Or you can buy several of the low quality ones over the next few years, and they'll just have weak water pressure, and as soon as they get clogged with something, that's it, So yeah, it's up to you. Let's see, Just Me, $20. Thank you very much, my friend. Send me some pictures of the garden. It's got to be going just totally crazy by now, because I know you've been getting some rain, so have we. It's been really great. Thank you very much for the tip, my friend. I appreciate you in so many ways. Val says, I want that knife. Oh yeah, you're talking about the skull crusher? Yeah, that is the incredible, especially kindling. You can chop. Man, I use that thing for so much. I use that thing for so much when I was living off grid. So let's see. Okay, here we see the R2 Pete's says, tell us more on eating the raw liver. How much and how often? Okay, this is something that we discuss, even though I will answer this, definitely. This is something we discuss this often and in depth on my other channel, Nate Muri, which we do a live stream every Monday. It's now starting at 10:30 Eastern time. So the new time for the Nate Muri live stream is 10:30 Eastern time in the morning. And there we discuss this kind of stuff in depth: health, wellness, spirituality, eating raw beef liver. But yeah, you will want to. So the raw beef liver is comes in about a 1 pound thing, unless from the butcher or wherever you have it processed. And you then I take it and I will cut it into 3 pieces. I'll let it thaw just a little tiny bit, enough to get a knife through it, like a cleaver, and cut it into 4 pieces. So I got a 1/4 pound pieces. And then 2, maybe 3 times a week, I will take out from the freezer one of those 1/4 pounds and put it in a thing so that it defrosts. And then I will slice it up into little cubes like this and put it into a bowl with maple syrup and then eat it just like that. It is so delicious. And if the texture kind of weirds you out at first or at all, you can just take a spoonful and wash it down with some water, just almost like a multivitamin pill. And it's incredible. It really is nature's ultimate multivitamin. Raw liver is the most nutrient-dense food on the planet. That's right. Okay, so let us see. I gotta pour my tea, so hold on a second, guys. So this is, I'm letting it steep here because I was a little bit late to the game, late to get going. So just letting it steep. This is some mint from outside, some chamomile. The chamomile is just super delicious. And then also some mate, some yerba mate. So yeah, oh yeah, I think I will give you guys the link to this stuff that I have bought. I finally found one that you can get in like a bulk, and it's actually really good. So I'm very pleased with it. Been using it for a couple weeks now, so I can recommend it to you guys. It's good, it's potent and powerful and all the good stuff. So yes. Let's see here. Liberate Mankind says, hey there, Nate. What's up, my friend? Okay, Peter says, worst place to be when the power goes out or the gas stops flowing is the northeast city, Massachusetts, New Jersey. Watch out, move out if you can. That sounds like a pretty sound suggestion, Peter. Thank you. Just Me says, when you come down, we will kill a cow and you can eat it straight from the body like a Viking. I hope you're ready for that, because I will take you up on that. Really, I will. And I will eat it raw, still warm. That's not a problem. Because I know your cows are raised in the good way, with love and pastured. They're living happy lives, because I've been there to the farm. And so I know that it is raised in the right way. It's not confined to the little thing and fed a bunch of antibiotics and all that stuff. So, yes. Ooh, yeah. Oh, man. It's so good. Katie or Catty says, you definitely wouldn't want to buy that from a box store. You talking about the liver? Probably not. Yeah. No, you don't want to buy the liver from the box store. Let's see here. Liberated Mankind says, is it possible to scale down the sulfur fungicide solution any further than you already have from the original JDOM recipe? I do not know. I wouldn't, though, because that's like the smallest. I think there is like a threshold to where the it won't have enough thermal mass, to create the reaction that we're wanting. Okay, so I would just make it in the 5-gallon bucket. It's only like half of a 5-gallon bucket, so you'll have it for many years, and it is shelf stable. So I would just go ahead and make it because it's easy and it's cheap. It's just so beautiful, isn't it? I mean, I love this thing. So, okay, let's see what else people are talking about. Let's see up here a little bit. And okay, so Becky says, is Epsom not good for the food web? Epsom salt is actually it's magnesium sulfate. So it's good for the plants. It's really good because magnesium, listen guys, magnesium is the central molecule of the chlorophyll ion, and it gets used up in the process of photosynthesis. And so a plant requires large amounts of magnesium. And when I was doing indoor gardening and stuff, garden rescues and high stakes gardening, that was actually the #1 problem in an otherwise healthy garden or healthy setup is magnesium deficiency. So if you see your plants sort of curling up and stuff, and we're talking indoor, also outdoor, but if you see the plants sort of curling up, they're trying to escape the light. They're trying to say, okay, we can't handle all the light because there's not enough chlorophyll or there's not enough magnesium to supply the photosynthesis process. Okay, so you can utilize and then there's other signs and symptoms, of course. But you can utilize Epsom salts for a quick fix, all right? And it's actually Epsom salt, it does come from it is a naturally derived material. So now as far as what it does exactly to the soil food web, I am not 100% certain in the sense that I haven't examined it through a microscope. I haven't examined it. Hello from Lodi. Stuck in Lodi again? Is that where that song came from? So I haven't examined the long-term effect of that on the soil. But I do know that it is not like the ammonium nitrates and the potassium nitrates and all these other nitrates and stuff. It's not nearly as irritating to the soil food web, to the earthworms and stuff like that. I do know that. But yeah, Epsom salts is something that you want to use if you have like an emergency, but ideally you want to, Creedence Clearwater, exactly. So the Stuck in Lodi again, that's the song we're talking about. So you want to only use the Epsom salts if it's like a quick fix, an emergency, okay? Yulia says, hello from Ukraine. Hello, my friend. Hope you are staying free from any of the fighting that's going on there. Let's see here. Okay, Big Will Dog says, Nate, question. My Thorburn terracotta seems to have curly top virus, but is still fruiting. Keep the plant or remove it? You can just keep it because the curly top virus, it's going to eventually kill the plant, but it doesn't spread. I forget exactly how it. But it's not one that you have to rip up the whole plant. It's not one of those that you have to really worry about. So long as it will eventually stop growing though. And but you can either cut that off, depending on how big the plant is. You can either cut that off and let it focus its energy on ripening what is already there, or you can just let it go. It'll be fine. Except in my experience, the Thorburn terracotta, I actually did not appreciate that one. Now you might have different experience. Everybody, it's different with everyone. But my Thorburn terracotta, the plant was just not that vigorous, and they were so prone to splitting. They split at the slightest little difference in moisture, and so one rain, boom, every one of them split open. Whereas even the Cherokee purples and definitely the purple bumblebees, those weren't splitting. The Cherokee do sometime, purple bumblebees never. I mean, they're very hardy. So. Sasha says, we have days of 15 to 23 Celsius and is winter. I'm afraid of the summer temperatures. How is there on the North Hemisphere? Yes, guys, what's 15 to 23 Celsius? What is that in Fahrenheit for us? Garth says, we must be careful with the use of Epsom salts because it can put the calcium to magnesium. Let's see here. It can put the calcium to magnesium ratio out of balance and your soil is really screwed then. Yes, so there is some wisdom from Garth. I can say that sounds like it would check out, definitely. Anytime that we're trying to dump one specific thing into the soil, we run that huge risk of throwing it out of balance. That's why it's all about utilizing a complete source of things. And so the natural fertilizers, or if you're really good at mixing up soil amendments, bone meal, blood meal, all that, if you have a specific balance and all of that, where you use a little bit of Epsom salts, then that's one thing. But for the most part, manures and homemade fertilizers are balanced. And so you don't have to worry about throwing things out of whack. So when you put something that's just magnesium and sulfur, magnesium sulfate, onto the soil, yes, you do run that risk. That being said, if you were going to put it on something, you know, tomatoes and alliums love it because of the sulfur. So it will make your onions slightly more pungent and your garlic slightly more pungent. But we don't want to get into the hang of using Epsom salts, though, because we don't need to. Because the wood ash and all different kinds of things already have that, all right? Right. Scott Miller says, I sprinkle around root zone only if severe need of immediate fix. Yes, and Epsom salt actually is a saline laxative. If you, for the human consumption, you can use it as a saline laxative. And it has a somewhat similar properties in a way in the soil, in the sense that it is very, very water soluble, in the sense that it will wash away very quickly. And so that's why you can sprinkle it around the roots and you will get some benefits pretty quickly. If you need it, though. In an otherwise healthy garden, there's no need for it. Danny Jorgensen, 10 Danish kroners. Is that what that is? Are you in Denmark, my friend? Thank you very much for the tip. I appreciate it. 10 Danish kroners, that's probably like $35, isn't it? No, because all those Scandinavian countries typically have very strong currencies. And let's see here. There was a... okay, let's see here. And no, there was a question about... well, it's lost now. It's lost now. Sorry. Okay, so Dane says, help, I have cucumber beetle infestation. I need the heavy artillery. Well, guys, that's a tough one. So you can see the short that I made where I illustrate the JDOM solution for it is going to be certain amounts of, I forget the exact ratio at the moment. I put it in the video, in the short that I made about the cucumber beetle. But it's the Jerusalem artichoke, natural pesticide. It's going to be the JDOM wetting agent and some of the JDOM sulfur. Okay, and now if you have the Korean pasque flower one, then you can also use that. And so, because you really have to throw all of it, and that's the strongest thing that JDOM has to offer, is that combination. And you will apply that, and you will see how it goes. But the thing is that with the natural ways of doing things, the natural pesticides, insecticides, and stuff, it's not like the chemical stuff where you can just get one product and it wipes out everything, or it wipes out certain insects. With the natural stuff, you have to use a wide variety of different things, and you have to try it and see what works for you in your area. The three main things that the JDOM system has tested out and really affirmed that it works are the Jerusalem artichoke, the ginkgo tree, and the Korean pasque flower. Now, those are ones that have had the most documented effect. So you combine that with the wetting agent and the sulfur, and you will be, that should do it. So let us see. And let's see here. Moondust. I didn't have any tea today, but I had, oh man, can't even see it. But I had Black Rifle coffee. Nice. Yes, I see advertisements for that. JP Sears, I see him advertising that. The fourth Wiseman says, if you mature compost, keep manure as top layer dress. That way the compost as a whole can breathe without going anaerobic. Okay, sounds all right. Yo Slack says, congratulations, you are almost at 100,000. You deserve it. Favorite gardening channel. All right, my friend. Thank you very much for the enthusiasm. And yes, you guys are my favorite community on the internet as well, because you can see when you go to certain channels and stuff, you can see that some channels attract a certain type of person, I guess, a certain type. So some channels have people that are really bickering in the comments and trying to belittle each other and all this just nonsense that doesn't get anyone anywhere, you know. But in this community, it's all, for the most part, I mean, it's like just really intelligent people with a lot of good experience, a lot of good things to say. So if you're new to the channel, read through the comments of the videos. People share their personal experience, which is great. And then I try to interact with them as well from my experience. So all kinds of knowledge, good knowledge, which is great. And Robin Riley says, how to know when Tahitian melon squash are ready to harvest. Started mid-May in zone 8. May, June. Okay, so you're in zone 8. Then you will experience a frost. So really, they will go until the plant dies for the most part. So let them go. Tahitian melon squash take as long as you have in your season. So they can take as short as 100 days though, 110 days. But if they have 130 or 40, that's fine too. So the plant will the Tahitian melon squash will get huge, all right? The squash will get big, the leaves will get big, the plant can get a nice thick stalk on it. But the thing is that you want to leave it and then let it cure. That's important. So when it's growing, the Tahitian melon squash is going to be like a light green, a pastel green color. And you don't even want to touch it at that point because it's so soft. If you take your thumbnail, especially if you got razor blade nails like I do, then you can, because I use them for all kinds of things. If you put your thumbnail into it, it will easily just go right through. All right, and that is not ready. So that is nowhere near ready. So when it becomes ready, is the plant will start to die back, and the melon squash will start to go from a pastel sort of greenish to more like this color. This sort of cream colored, yellowish, but orange, cream. It will go to that color. And once it goes to this color, then you will see that the plant will start to die back and stuff. And then you will let it the ideal way is to let the whole plant just die due to old age, because it will terminate. And then you will have the melon squash, and you can just let them sit out into the open. And this is how I cure them. Okay, this is important. So you can either take them off the vine or wait until the vine dies, depending on your season. See, there's a lot of variables. Sometimes I have to cut them off the vine because they cannot take a frost. The squash will not like a frost. So make sure that you pull it up before that. But the squash need about a week of just sitting in the sun. Right out in the field where they were grown, you can just let them sit in the sun. And if you can, rotate them, flip them over each day. And when you do this, that really makes that shell on them nice and hard. So that then, once it's properly cured, you'll take your thumb and you can't even pierce it really. It's gonna be real firm and sturdy. And that's when it's ready, okay? So let it cure for a week, even 2 weeks in the sun, but without getting a frost. And then take it into the basement, and it will store for a year. I mean, a year straight, no problem. So, just me, $10. Second tip from you, my friend. Thank you. There are honeybees all over the glass gem corn. Japanese beetles all over the top leaves of the beans. Corn is 9 to 10 feet tall and tasseled, and silk is everywhere. Man, that just sounds awesome. Yeah. So, guys, that's the garden installation I went and did in Tennessee this past spring. Well, fall and spring, really. And it's just really doing amazing this year. I mean, really, his garden, I wish I could show you pictures. I might go down there just to get some video here in another month or so, a few weeks, because it's pretty much everyone's dream garden in the sense that there's no weeds. There's just produce, and there's just huge thriving plants. So, that's pretty much where it's at as far as I'm concerned. Let's see. Okay, Phoenix Rising says, just started farming in June of last year. The heat and the soil here is a beautiful mix. Nice. Where are you at? Phoenix? Okay, and Christopher. Whoops. Okay, Mick says, Christopher Mennel keeps asking a question about his borehole water. Okay, let's see. Where is it? Where is it? I mean, you got to understand the comments are going choo, 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 choo. So I'm like I'm just on my phone, So it's like I'm doing the best. So I just kind of, it's like fishing. I'll just go through and get one. You remember those games as a kid in the little thing, when the thing goes around, you just stick the pull down and you just get whatever one you get. That's how these questions are going. 8A Gardening in Clay says, my tea squash is growing Jurassic big. Nice terminology, my friend. And thanks for the shout out in the video the other day. Super cool to put a face to the name. So he made a video on his channel. I guess he just started the channel where he is doing the pole bean trellis, and he tagged me in it or mentioned me in it. It said at Garden Like a Viking. So it notified me, and so I could see it. Super cool, man. Super cool. I was just sitting, I was watching that just thinking, man, what a trip. You know, that's the idea I came up with one day out of necessity, you know? And so then to see somebody else in some other part of the country or of the world replicating that and then doing it exactly how I was doing it, it's just awesome. That's a really unique feeling. So I was, that was really cool. And it looks great. Your Mother Staller beans are going to be huge though, my friend. They are going to climb up that and then go back down and then climb up themselves again. So all that weight, because in that last picture at the end of that video, I saw already it was bowing in towards the middle. They're going to quadruple in weight. So you really want to put some ropes up there and pull those outside back out, you know. I know you don't have room, but you're going to want to, because otherwise it's going to like just maybe break them. I don't know. It won't break them, but it'll be like this, you know, if that bothers you, the look of it, but it'll probably still function the same way. So Lee Starr says, excellent job, man. Thanks for your info. You're very welcome, Lee. Where's that borehole question? I'm trying to answer it. RK says, I had 2 Tahitian melon squash growing next to each other, and I thinned one out, and ever since the one that remains looks sad. Leaves drooping, soil is moist. Any thoughts on why? How did you thin it out? Did you pull the plant out of the ground? Did you pull the plant out of the ground? Or did you just cut it at ground level? Be honest. Jeremy Ransom says, Scott Miller, shade cloth will help tomatoes and peppers from getting sun scald. This is correct. It definitely does. And I just made that video about the fall garden, and I'm using 40% shade cloth. That's generally enough, especially here. But if you're in the blazing hot, you can even get 70% shade, and that will work. So let's see here. TC says, thanks, Nate, for all your knowledge and wisdom. What an eye-opener. Awesome channel. Yes, I'm glad you're here, my friend. Let's see here. CG was hard. Says, hey, Nate, what do you suggest for those of us with potentially contaminated wanting to compost? With potentially contaminated wanting to compost. I am not sure if I should expose the bin to the soil for beneficials. Okay, potentially contaminated soil wanting to compost. So in that instance, are you talking about, I don't quite understand the question. But yes, you want to, okay, let me get to that real quick. You want to always have the compost in contact with the ground. That's going to be the most beneficial way. If it's seriously contaminated with I don't know what, then you could, like radiation or something, I don't know. You could use one of the tumblers and elevate it. You know, but always you'll have the best results, the most earthworms, the most beneficial microbial community in direct contact with the earth. And I wouldn't worry so much about if it's contaminated with farm chemicals or certain things. I wouldn't worry too much about it. A good compost pile can really denature a lot of that stuff. Okay, let's see here. Borehole guy said the water gone bad. Could he use it for JDOM? I'm not sure. I don't really understand that question again. Sorry. But, okay, RK said you cut the Tahitian melon squash even with the ground, and the other one looks sad. No idea. It might just be missing its companion. Unlikely. So it probably just goes through a little shock. Maybe it's getting more sunlight than it was before, and more, so it just has to adjust. But it'll take an adjusting period, but it should be just fine. It should be just fine. It's going to love you for it. Tahitian melon squash are one of the things that you don't, unless you've got a really rich source of nutrients set up, you're not going to want to plant more than 1 or 2 of those plants per mound or per given area, because they can be hungry and they can be massive. So if you do it right and you give them plenty of space, then each melon squash will create a stalk like this thick, and they can be like 30 feet long, and they can produce 5 or 7 of these squash that are literally this big around, but like 3 feet long, and they're like 30 pounds a piece. It's just crazy how much food that they can do. Oh yeah, sorry. Somebody in the comments last week was like, I really like your channel and your show, but do you know how disgusting it is you're slurping? I thought you would be more respectful than that or something. Guys, I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry. I'm sorry, not sorry. I'm sorry that you're bothered by me drinking tea. So this is how I drink tea, and you're just going to have to get over it. So, because I like having tea. So, and it's hot. CG says, no, was more to lead and potentially, lead and potentially pesticides and trash from previous landowners. Okay, I wouldn't worry too much about it. I would go ahead and put the compost right down on the ground, and the microorganisms will denature most of that for the most part. Unless there's like some crazy amount of lead, unless they had a lead farm or something, I don't know. So, Old Pork Chop says, hi Nate, good to be here for the first time. Do you think the smoke haze will affect crop yields? Okay, so I have heard things about that. M.I. Gardener did he's like in a similar area. He's just up north a little bit. So he was talking about, he believes that it's going to seriously affect crop yields. And that he's talked with other farmers, and that they are talking about this is a very, very dismal year. And he's saying because of the wildfire smoke, the particulates in the air. Now, he sounded like he knew, sort of like he had an understanding of it. I don't have an in-depth understanding of it. Not in-depth enough to confidently say, yes, it will, or no, it won't. The truth is that I don't really know. That based upon logic, or based upon my thinking, more particulates in the air, yes, it would cut down on the amount of light exposure, the amount of total light getting to the plant, but that's not going to be an issue, really, because actually plants prefer overcast weather. Most plants. Corn, some plants, okra, some plants want full blast sun, but most plants appreciate the diffusement of the light. So because when the sun is shining, and there's no clouds and there's nothing, then the rays are like real intense coming straight down. But when there's cloud cover or particulates in the air, then it's kind of refracts off of things. And so it gives it a different kind of, diffused light. And so for that reason, I don't think there's going to be a problem. That's just what my mind tells me. I've heard from a lot of people that there's going to be issues, but I don't see why there would be, unless there was some kind of toxic chemical in the smoke that is like, not just smoke, that is like those trains from Palestine, Ohio. That would be a major issue. But I think we'll be okay. I think what's important is to build resilience in your garden and in yourself. So practice the breathing exercises. We do this and we do this kind of stuff on my other channel, Nate Murray. So practice building the resilience in your lungs. Practice being mindful of what you put into the body so that the body can detoxify. Anything that does come into it, that it breathes in, detoxify. My body can detoxify stuff so quickly and easily now because I've purified it over the years. And so that is very important, is to build resiliency, and also in your garden. So yes, Garth says, I think the smoke particulate may block the stoma of the plant and affect its efficiency that way. Yeah, it's possible. I mean, again, I don't know for sure. I don't think you do either. I don't think that anybody does know for sure. exactly, but I do know that in Northern California, when I grew there for many years, as you all know, there was wildfires every single year. And every year there was a haze of smoke, midsummer, mid to late summer, because it doesn't rain at all in the summertime. So it's everything turns brown just naturally. That's how it does out there. And so there's wildfires everywhere. And so the smoke was so thick so many times for weeks and months, like most of summer. And yet we grew 15-foot monstrous plants. You know what I mean? We grew, stalks like this, tree trunks, so also good light depth systems and all that stuff. And so it didn't affect those whatsoever. And I think that as long as you're getting a little bit of rain, or as long as you're rinsing it off in some way, or if you're foliar feeding your plants, if you're concerned about the particulates from the smoke affecting your plant's stoma, then you should do a foliar feeding. You should do a foliar feeding with things like the fish fertilizer, maybe just one of the JLF fertilizers, some aerated compost tea, which you will see before too long. And so that's what I would do. Now rinse it out. And so then you should be fine. Some aerated compost tea would really be the best possible thing. If you're concerned about the stoma blocking, then I would spray it with that. And I just reached out to this company that I used to know these guys. I don't know if it's still the same people, but I used to get their products when I was in California, and they're in Humboldt, and they make these compost tea brewers, and it comes with the barrel, the pump, and the aerator. It comes with all the stuff that you need, and it's very moderately priced. And so I reached out to them, was like, hey, how about we work out something? I can put the links to your stuff in the description of my videos, because one, they're super cool guys. They're local to their economy. It's American, just a couple of guys, couple of bros that have a company, really good products. And I used them for years. And so I think that will be coming to you guys soon. But I'm waiting to do the aerated tea video until I know for sure what that's going to look like. And so, because then, you can just, boom, get either the 5-gallon or the 30-gallon, and it will be helping out all the good people along the line. You know what I mean? It's way better than just an Amazon click and stuff. So let's see here. There was let's see. Moondust says, when I go to make smoothies, can I just put in Ziploc bags for the freezer? That's one way to do it. You're going to lose some of the enzymes, the living enzymes, and some of the vitamins and minerals will denature with time. Once you blend something into a smoothie, it becomes oxidized, and the oxidation starts, and so we do not, that degrades the vitamins and minerals and the enzymes. And so ideally you would just make them fresh. If you had to do it in the smoothies or in the freezer for convenience, then sure. Brian says, I am looking forward to the meditation on Monday. Yes, we're going to start this one at 10:30. We'll probably have about 5 minutes of theory, and then we'll do about just a 10-minute guided meditation, guided by myself. Okay, Alvin K says, are people talking about the Canadian wildfires with the public smell? I do believe so, yes. Let's see here. Scott says, I've used all my Miracle Grow and my ornamentals way out front. You could make Brondo. It's what plants crave. DLR says, it's not unusual for the upper Midwest, meaning southern Minnesota, to experience haze from Canada's fire. Happens a lot. Okay, so I did not know that. That's the first I've heard of that. But you hear that, guys? That this guy, DLR, lives in southern Minnesota, says it's kind of normal to experience haze from Canada's fires. Happens a lot. So I can say, though, that I don't recall ever experiencing here in northern Indiana. Not that I'm aware of. Maybe back before the days of the internet and all that, I experienced it and I didn't know, but... And let us see. The fourth Wiseman says, light smoke uptake Doesn't affect plants too much. Heavy smoke does due to particulates and oil particulates and smoke. Yeah, if it's heavy smoke, I could see that. But a light smoke like this, I don't think it would be all that much of an issue. Okay, Big Will Dog says, Nate, the borehole guy said, quote, my borehole water is brown and smells like rotten eggs. Can I make JLF from it? Okay, what is a borehole? I keep hearing this. What is a borehole? Oh, he means a well, probably, right? Bore into the earth. Okay, so he means a well. So that means that the water is brown and smells like rotten eggs. That just means it's high in sulfuric compounds. And yes, borehole water, if it's brown, smells like rotten eggs, you can make definitely JLF, no problem. Any of the pesticide, like the wetting agent or the sulfur, no, you wouldn't want to use that because way too many. It's going to be really hard, meaning there's going to be a high amount of dissolved solids in that water. So that will be very hard. But as far as using for the plants, it will be great. Unless it's brown from like some kind of industrial runoff, then that's a different issue. But go ahead and use the borehole water. Okay. Dav says, any thoughts on using the rest of my store-bought chemical fertilizers? I haven't bought any in years, but don't want to waste it. I was thinking of composting or biochar. No, neither of those would be good options, actually. If you have leftover fertilizers, the last thing that you want to do is add it to your compost piles because it literally is like pouring salt on a slug in the sense that to the microorganisms and the earthworms and all the things that you want to help, those chemical fertilizers are very irritating to it. And so it's bad. It's real bad for them. And we are not going to help our community of microorganisms thrive by applying chemical irritants and petroleum-based industrial ag chemicals. So if you want to use it, the best way to use it would be to foliar, even though it's not going to be much, but you can foliar with that, and that will be the least amount of damage as far as to the soil food web, because it straight up damages the food web. Sort of by design in a way, but because the more of it that you use, the more you have to use it because your soil isn't self-repairing. Your soil doesn't, it stops the natural nutrient cycling of things. So you have to use more and more over the years. But what I would do if you had a bunch of leftover stuff, then I would probably utilize it in one specific area. Like if you could do some grow bags with potatoes or something, or sweet potatoes or whatever it is, go ahead and use it up in there. That's what I would do. I wouldn't put it into the actual earth. Let's see here. Fourth Wiseman says, you'll notice murky rain after heavy smokes and fires. This is what blocks or chokes plants. Okay. Any rain is good rain for me. And Peter says, I talked to a friend who lives in Quebec, and he said it's not as the media says. Well, we can pretty much guarantee whatever is coming across the airwaves is in some way manipulated. Okay, Alvin K says borehole, noun, deep, narrow hole made in the ground, especially to locate water or oil. Okay, yes, borehole sounds to me like a well. So let's see here. Canadian Cowboy says, good afternoon, Viking, happy Canadian Day. Is that right? I tried the poblano pepper. I get why you like it. Everyone have a great day. Okay, so he tried the poblano pepper, and guys, it is super delicious. So you can grow them, and you can make the smoked fermented poblano hot sauce. I think I made a video about it. If not, I will this year for sure. But yes, I wanted to say thank you to some of the people that have used the link in the description to make a donation to the PayPal account. This is very helpful because I don't have a Patreon. I don't set up the membership stuff where it's like every month, which maybe I should, I don't know. But I just think that I don't want to I just think I don't need to do that. Everyone has been very generous and stuff like that up until this point. So I want it to be available to anyone, all the information to be available to anyone that has internet access. Even because I traveled in countries and stuff for years where there's no way that they're paying even a couple dollars, no type of membership, you know what I mean? So it's just lucky they got the internet even, or access to it. So though, I don't want to seclude the information. But that being said, this is my professional job now. It's like it's full time. So got to make some money. So I very much so appreciate you guys. Darren F, Jordan C, Erica A, Lisa C, Kelly Mick, Linda M, Torque Tech. Thank you very much. Generous donation, my friend. String Masters, Susan M, Daniel E, Brendan W, Joanne, of course, always. Thank you, my friend. And some of the older ones, slightly a little bit older, but maybe you didn't hear me last time. Jose F, K Monroe, Donna G, Cameron M, Luz H, Judy K, Selvam Sri, Justin M, Marion K, Jason L, Plum Smart, Donna H, Margaret H, and many others. I thank you guys very much. That helps me to do all kinds of stuff. So that's really important. And eventually it will all be about getting the land and starting up the school, in which case we will need lots of input from lots of different people. But I'm going to set up like some kind of a crowdfunding or like some kind of a thing where people can make like tax deductible, like seriously that's what's going to need to happen for that. So Teresa Repas, $10. Thank you very much, my friend. Says hello from Fawn River Township near Sturgis, Michigan. All right. Not that far. Not that far. Thank you for the tip. So, Joe Slack says, Happy Canada. Okay, so it's Canadian Independence Day today? That is interesting. So, because in just a couple of days, it's our Independence Day. Jerry Jr. says, can we use grass that was sprayed with fertilizer, pesticides, herbicides to make compost for our gardens? Yes. Well, I mean, how long ago? So it's, okay, fertilizers, yes. Pesticides, herbicides, not really. I wouldn't. Unless you had, so you mean like a treated lawn, like people that get their lawn sprayed and stuff? Actually, no, that can be toxic because there will be things in there that will stop the growth of anything but grass. And so you don't want that, actually. At this day and age, there's absolutely no reason anyone should be spraying toxic chemicals on their lawn for just because I like a unnatural bushy green lawn. You can get organic stuff. You can make things that will make your lawn look perfectly natural and good without being such a detriment to the ecosystem and the natural cycle of things. The people that, using chemicals and herbicides and weed killers on your lawn now is like people smoking back in the day. Now people know about the dangers and the detriment of smoking, but yet still some people do. It's the same with spraying your lawn with toxic fertilizers and chemicals just so you can have some kind of artificially luscious lawn. Now we know the detriment to it, what it does to the honeybees, that there's no clover in your yard, there's no dandelions in your yard. It's just a wasteland of green carpet grass. And for what? For what? You can't give me a good reason. Just because I like it, that's not a good reason, okay? Because you have to understand what it's doing. We need the clover, we need the dandelions, we need all the different stuff in there because the bees is so important. And that is a major, major issue of our time that no one's really talking about. The insects, how they are going away because we're taking away their food and we're destroying the habitat of all of this. Now, we have to understand this. How many of you guys, when you were kids, used to go for a drive in the country, and when you would come home, you would see on the front of your car just thousands of different insects, some with big wings, some little ones, some huge green spots on the windshield and all of that. And I remember that very clearly. And even when I first started riding motorcycles, when I was 16, 17, 18, 19, and stuff, and drive through the country, and there'd be just bugs all over the place. I never experience that anymore, guys. There's no insects on the front of my vehicle anymore. I never get hit by insects on the motorcycle. I mean, I got a Harley, and when we're driving, we'll go through the country roads in the evening as the sun is setting and it's getting dark, and there's virtually no insects. That is like super red flag, major alert. But yet no one is even thinking about it. Everyone's just, let's just keep dumping chemicals on our lawn. Let's just keep dumping chemicals everywhere. And yet this is going to be a huge problem. You can mark my words. This is going to become one of the biggest problems of our time. Because without the bees, without the pollinators, we do not exist. I hope that, I don't know if people can, once you see this interconnectivity, you can't unsee it. But without the pollinators, we don't exist. It's not just, oh, I want to save the bees because I like how pretty they are buzzing around. No, it's like, it's a survival thing. Without the pollinators, we don't exist. So we need to ensure the survival of the pollinators. Do you understand this? Freebird says, yes. Wow, Nate, never thought about that. Very few bugs at all on my car. Exactly. And back in the day, you used to have tons of them on the front, all stuck into the grill, dragonflies and mayflies and all that stuff. Never anymore. No. It's because it's just a wasteland of, when you drive out into these farm fields, and we're in Indiana, and me and Freebird, and it's an oceans of GMO corn and soybeans, and sprayed with all kinds of toxic Monsanto chemicals as far as you can see in every direction. And so in the middle of summer, I'll go down these, you'll drive and you will not see any flowers. It's just, there's like, where's the food for the insects? The trees, the fruits and all that stuff, just gone, just wiped out. GMO corn and soybeans. So the result is that after just a few decades, a few generations like this, things are going to just become a total, I don't know what, but it's not going to be good. So, same. Okay, Sarah Richardson says, same with the fireflies here in my corner of tropical Mexico. Don't see them anymore. Yes, we don't hardly see the fireflies anymore either. When I was young, you used to look into the woods, and I spent a lot of time in the woods. You used to see just boom, just tons of choo, 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 like a light show. Now you'll just see a couple lonely little fireflies here and there. We used to go outside and catch them all the time, but here I rarely, hardly ever see them. Yeah. Hans Ketchup says, you've wiped out your local insect populations, or nearly wiped them out. In Tennessee, we still have the lightning bugs and everything. You still have everything. So there's no decline at all in the insect populations. I don't find that 100%. I think that maybe you still have some, but there's got to be a decline anywhere where there's this type of agriculture. Okay, Natalie says, hi everyone. I live in Quebec, Canada, about 100 miles northeast of Montreal. So I am fairly close to the fires. My garden is doing fine so far. The potatoes and tomatoes seem to be thriving. Okay, this is wonderful. So this is coming from someone who is, boots on the ground right there. So good. Let's see. And, okay, so the VA Green says, I couldn't believe how many more bees there were in Virginia when I moved here compared to Florida. It has become so overdeveloped. Oh, so there was not a lot in Florida. Is that what I'm hearing? Yeah, overdeveloped, just development everywhere, man. So Slat says, hey Nate, have you thought of integrating the food forest layout to your gardens or collaborating with someone who has? Yes, food forest is a wonderful idea, and it works wonderfully given the right space and in the right time frames as well. So here in northern Indiana, in this type of setting that I have right now with this time frame, not so much. Because I prefer high intensity cultivation. The high intensity is so that we can really get the maximum amount of food in a natural way out of the land, and this is very important. So the food forest, most of the food forests that you go to, are well, definitely per given space are not yielding as much as you can in this type of gardening, you know, in intensive sort of deliberate gardening. So yeah, once I get the land, yeah, definitely food forest areas of it for sure. But there will still be the intentional, intense, you know, growing of the vegetables. Yes. Because unfortunately, and how many of you guys know this? Unfortunately, most of the places that you go to that have like a permaculture or a food forest, you look at it and you're like, okay, can you please point out to me where the food is? Can you, because I'm seeing tons of weeds and trees. I mean, not weeds, you know my thought on weeds. There are none really, but I'm seeing tons of non-really useful plants and like a couple berries here and there, a couple leaves. Oh, you can eat this green, you know, a couple greens and stuff, a few nuts from here and there, and that's their food forest. And the rest of it is just like overrun with weeds. And so that's like the majority from what I see as far as like people showing me, you know, and I've seen lots of that kind of thing. Although I've definitely seen some, mostly in other countries though, I've definitely seen some very highly functioning and yielding type food forest type things. But for the most part, you know, people is like my permaculture garden, and it's just like, where's the food, you know? So yeah, DLR, weeds are my ground cover. Yeah, a lot of people say that and stuff. And you can see in some of the comments on some of my videos about on some of my shorts, mostly it's the shorts, because the shorts attract a certain type of person that just watches the shorts. You know, I know some of you go over and watch the shorts and stuff, and because I recognize you and stuff, but the people that just like stick to watching shorts, they're a certain type of person. They're really like combative and really kind of can't think, you know, properly and stuff. And so they have real juvenile type, you know, but they're all stone cold experts, you know. And so you can just see it in the way that they're just lay out their opinion about things. And when I talk about using weed cover or pulling any of the weeds or using mulches to suppress weeds, and people are like, obviously you don't know what you're talking about because weeds are very beneficial to the garden, and they try and school me on the many virtues of weeds. And you know, you don't pull the weeds, you just you know, they're beneficial. You have to learn to intercrop with them and stuff. And I'm thinking, okay, I get it, I get that, guys. But at the same time, I guarantee that their garden is probably overrun with weeds, and yet, you know, and they'll call it like permaculture or something. So it's just based on experience, guys. You want to keep it cultivated. I mean, as far as you want to keep, there's certain weeds that you can leave in like dandelions. I leave them all over the place. I got a bunch of dandelions in the garden. I don't pull them really because they're not like a problem. But thistles and the quack grass and the purslane, even, all of these can be problems, you know, and they can really limit they can compete. And they can outcompete because they got the home field advantage. The weeds will always outcompete whatever vegetables you're trying to grow there. If not in the first year, after several years, they will always outcompete because they have the home field advantage. And so you will get the best results by keeping it relatively weeded and by deliberately planting, you know, things. So yeah, that's my rant on that. Alvin says, we had so much forest land in this country, all destroyed for housing developments in cities. Oh, absolutely, man. I used to read all kinds of old books of pioneer days and things like this, and the Indians, and that from the Mississippi all the way to the East Coast was an endless expanse of old growth forest. And they used to say that a squirrel could go from the Mississippi to the East Coast, never touching the ground. And I fully 100% believe that. And then we came and just wipe it all out. So yeah, it's a sign of the mind of man. So let's see here. Big West said, I made a video of rain falling into a barrel and got 2,000 views in one day. Yeah, and I know you're talking about it must be a short, right? Because there's no telling, because the people that watch the shorts are like, they're like an incomplete, yeah, it's just different. Successful Garden Design says, I'm great at growing dandelions. Always keep them and juice the leaves. Yes, dandelions are pretty useful. I mean, they can be. But also as a living mulch. I love it because they don't have that super aggressive root system like crabgrass or morning glories. Oh my goodness. All kinds of things that just are bindweed. that stuff is really, that will outcompete your stuff. But dandelions more, they got the one good root, but then they just shade out the earth. So they're like a good living mulch, really. So Dano the Mano says Zoomers have zero attention span. Yeah, is that what this current generation is called? Zoomers? Is that so? I mean, current. I don't know what, but okay, Zoomers. Yeah, I would imagine. But it's also, it's not really their fault so much. It's being done to them. Social media and all of this is done this to them. It's designed to fracture your attention span because they want you to not be able to put together coherent strings of thoughts, so that you don't work out. So that you don't see something and then work it out till its logical conclusion. You don't have the faculties to, because your mind is trained to just bzz, 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 every couple seconds, bzz, bzz, a little jolt from the television or a commercial or a loud sound, or you have to have words all over. You have to have these shorts and stuff where there's just tons of cuts and interactions and stuff. And that just trains the mind to have that level of stimulation. So once you don't have that, it's like crickets. What's the silence? Oh no. And their mind, it trains the mind to become fractured. And so that's why you don't want to watch television. You don't want to really watch too many shorts. I mean, the ones on this channel, you guys, it's different. But yeah. Let's see here. Fabrizio says, which yerba mate brand do you recommend? I will put a link in the description to the one that it's good, economically priced, and it's good stuff. So I will put the link in the description. Yes. And Slat says, the Americas were once full head to toe with food forests, from the Amazon to the Yellowstone. Absolutely, I believe this. Yes. I have the book 1491 based upon one of you guys' recommendations. Haven't started reading it yet, but it's there. Wintertime is when I really start to read a lot. Blessed Love, can I use lily pads in JLF? Yes, you can. Definitely. Dandelions make great fermented fertilizer also. That's correct. They certainly do. High in calcium. Okay. And, boy. Okay, so, let's see here. Let's see. Ursula says, Nate, you're still cute even when you're ranting about a numbed out populace. But I like it even better when you're highlighting the excellence. Thank you very much, my friend. Yes, a numbed out populace. That's a good way to put it. Highlighting the excellence is mostly what we do, because that's what we have we know that what we focus on becomes our reality. And so how many people do you know that focus upon something? They focus on the negative aspects of things, and their life seems to be full of negative things that happen to them, or that they're a part of, or that they experience. But that's because your life becomes what you focus on the most. And so if you focus instead on the positive aspects, then your life becomes more full of positive things. And we could go much in depth with that, but that's the kind of stuff we talk about on the Nate Murray channel on the Mondays at 10:30 Eastern time. So join us there. And guys, grow you some marigolds, man. These things, the smell reminds me of the temples in India. I've been to India, I've traveled through India and stuff several times by motorcycle, and the temples, they have marigold garlands everywhere, especially in like Pushkar and the desert areas. And so the smell really reminds me of that. I love it. So Scott Miller says, I do love your shorts, but they are comprehensive and educational. Thank you. Yes, I try to add, I try to infuse some kind of like lesson or learning, or make it useful in some way, just 59 seconds. So you have to blah, 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 say a bunch of stuff and then it's over, So I do like making the shorts sometimes, but I don't put all that many cuts in them and stuff like that, and loud bangs and noises and music and all that, because, yeah. But YouTube pushes that kind of stuff. Like TikTok and YouTube and Instagram, they push that they want you to make it as engaging as possible. So as many cuts, they'll kind of tell you that the more cuts and the more editing, the more music, and then to put words over it as well. So it's like all these different sources of stimulation. Oh my God. Printer Bear says, Nate, how often are you watering the potatoes with the drip line? Thank you. Okay. I will do about 50 gallons. If we're not getting any rain, I'll do about 50 gallons every third day. Every other day, every third day, every fourth day, something like that, just depending on certain things. If it's really hot, you might have to do 40 gallons, every day. And I do that with the drip lines. Now, I will put a link in the description to these awesome things that I use to gauge the water. You have to be knowing how much water you're giving stuff. Once you start doing drip lines, you must gauge the amount of water that you're using. So I'll put a link in the description to a really good gauge that it just goes onto your garden hose. And oh yeah, Sarah says Pushkar is my home in India. Yeah, mine too. Oh my goodness. Chino from Mama Luna guest house. But anyways, the let's see, what was I just talking? Oh yeah, you want to be able to tell where the water, how much water you're giving them. And so don't just turn it on and think, well, I don't know. No, you want to know. So 40 to 50 gallons, depending, here and there. So I will put a link in the description to a good set with brass. It's good. Trish Smith says, I'm 70 years old and I have been gardening for 50 years. I learn new ways to do things every year. My newest learning is a deep mulch garden to improve our sandy soil, Washington State. Yes, guys, take note. That is the way, that is the right mentality. Learning new things all the time. Kim Williams, which variety is the marigold? This one in particular is the Cracker Jack. This is just the Cracker Jack. Might have been from Baker Creek, but all the Cracker Jacks pretty much are similar, but this is several years of saved. These are my seeds from the previous years. But I believe that it's either the Cracker Jack or the Orange Hawaii, one of those two. So, but they probably crossbreed it a little bit, and then, but I save seeds from these every year, so yeah. But those two are good to start with. Let's see here. Pam says, I had huge marigold flowers in yellow as big as yours. Gorgeous. Yes, I got some of those yellow ones too. I have to say, I just love the orange though. I don't know what it is about it. It's just almost like a neon color. What's your thoughts? Let's see here. Oops. Man, they're coming so fast. Okay. Let's see. Drew Black. Your comments on Zoomed would make a great short. Ooh, yeah. What do you mean on the Zoomers? My comments on the Zoomers? Yeah. Ooh, that would be good, wouldn't it? No, because I don't want to do anything combative, because I just don't care. I don't care if somebody gets my point, or I don't care if I change your way of thinking, or none of that. So I only care if the people that come to me wanting the knowledge or wanting the experience, or the people that are seeking out the knowledge, then I'm all about it. But I never try to throw the knowledge onto somebody, or to try to change somebody, or to really, no, I want you to understand me, or I want you I want to make sure I'm heard. All that's gone way out of my life. I have no concern or care whatsoever if you get me or whatever. Or if what the video I make upsets you in some way, because I'm guided in a way. I know, because I've went to the core and I've purified my thoughts and my intentions over the years. And so I have absolutely no hesitation. Anything that I say, I already know is going to be the right thing to say. I already know is going to be what I mean, because I'm led by the heart. And so I don't have to, I don't have to combat any of these people or try to make fun of any people or anything like that, because it doesn't do anything for me. And so, because I already know the deal. So, and you just don't need that kind of energy, all them bickering little Zoomers or whatever it is, or even older people and stuff, they've been conditioned to just be combative, man. I mean, so much more. Do you guys remember when you were young and you would I mean, I specifically remember, politics, for example. It used to be, okay, who was president, George Bush or the Clinton, and stuff like that. I mean, it's like people had differing opinions, but you were still family. You were still friends, and but now it's like differing political opinions is, you just, enemies. I mean, it's the divide and the combativeness and the bickeringness and the pettiness, all of that stuff has just intensifying more and more and more over the past 20 years. And I've lived long enough now, I can see these things, and it's quickening. It's changing at a faster pace. It's an exponential chart right now. I mean, towards the end of an exponential chart is when it all just explodes. And we're in that quickening of the exponential graph right now, as far as, I don't know what exactly, but okay, guys. So if you guys want to get more in depth about other topics other than gardening, just gardening, then check us out Monday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. We'll do a live Q&A on my other channel, Nate Muri, M-U-R-I, and hope to see you there. Definitely start up the Instagram account and tag me, mention me in all your posts and stuff so I can see your stuff. And if you have questions, if you have something, someone sent me a picture, well, I'll respond on Instagram, about her basil and wants to know what the problem was. That is just some damage from a leaf miner. And so that's what you're seeing. Don't worry. It's not going to be that big of a deal. So just continue to have healthy plants and they will outpace the destruction from those creatures. So don't worry about it. So see, that kind of thing we can do through Instagram. You can tag me and show me your stuff. And I think that's about it, right, guys? So thank you very much for the chat, guys. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for the contributions. And I will see you next week. I'm going to be at the Content Creator Roundup in Chicago at Aqualand. So there's maybe going to be some other gardening channels there. It's all about... well, it's just going to be cool. So there's going to be a lot of other content creators there. And so on Saturday, we'll probably be doing the live from Aqualand. So maybe I will, maybe there will be some other garden content creators there, and I'll see if they want to do the live with me. So it might turn out to be a really cool episode next week. So make sure that you guys are there. All right. Thank you, my friends.